I get a large amount of emails from individuals asking me why they can't see the jinn they bought in full physical form, or if I can sell them a jinn bound to a ring so that they can see it and talk to it as they would with another person. Many people assume a jinn that is attached to an object is similar to a jinn one might acquire from doing an amal ritual. Surely it is not. If simply buying a jinn attached to an item will allow me to see it in physical form, sense it, and talk to it, then why would healers like myself spend years learning how to sense and see jinn? Why not simply buy one and be on your way? Firstly, we need to realize it is not so easy to see a jinn or any entity. If one wishes to see an entity when they please, then they must have the spiritual power that allows their mind and body to do that. In some cases, demonic entities allow themselves to be seen by the individual they wish to harm. This is done through their intense amount of energy, which is then used by them to destroy people's lives. When their victim is emotionally broken, only then can they be seen. If this theory were false, then demonic entities would walk around and present themselves to anyone they feel, since that is their nature. But it is not so easy, even for demonic entities. They must invest much energy in breaking down their prey before they can be seen. Some scholars state that when such entities find their prey, the process of breaking them down begins. They start destroying their aura, giving nightmares, bad luck, bringing the victim to question, why is God allowing this? They start losing faith. They are emotionally broken. Then the demonic forces start to invade their body, and only then is when and why the victim of this agony can see and sense them. Remember, jinns are all around us, perhaps some even in our home. Their world is within ours. They can see us, but surely we cannot see them. So why assume that if you buy an object with an entity in it, you will suddenly become spiritually aligned, develop all the proper senses that are needed to sense and see entities simply because you bought a jinn-inhabited item? We must work to get such abilities. Knowledge cannot be bought but only learned. Some individuals are born more sensitive than the others, while they will have an easier time sensing the unseen world. If they want to do it properly, they too must learn. Now, when a person does an amal and the entity presents itself, it has done this because A. The person doing the ritual is at the correct spiritual level to sense, see, and communicate with the entity, meaning they are spiritually powerful and have their senses spiritually aligned. B. And because the ritual has been done properly. If you only get part B correct, do not assume part A will suddenly fall into place. Part A must be learned. This is why I always tell people learn, 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 and then do the amal, or you are wasting your time. I know many people who have been doing rituals for years with no success. Doing the ritual is 50% of the work. The remaining 50% is being prepared to do the ritual to make it successful. Now, what is the difference between an entity attached to an object and one that is obtained from doing an amal ritual? Well, firstly, when an entity is attached to an object, it is mostly because it is going to someone else, simply because the one who is binding an entity to an object has no need to bind an entity to an object for themselves. Usually, the person who wants such items does so because, C, they don't wish to do the countless years of training to bring forth an entity. D, have failed in multiple rituals but still want a jinn. E, have a family and do not wish to bring them the potential harm that they can experience when doing the amals. F, have ruhani ilm, knowledge, or similar training, are aware how to do healing, have spent years training in healing, are spiritually powerful but have not learned the proper knowledge needed to bring forth jinns, or just wish not to learn that part, or don't have their senses spiritually aligned and don't wish to spend the time doing so. These are the people I usually lean towards when giving an entity. Now, when an entity is attached to an object, it understands that the energy is not going to be nearly as powerful as the entity not attached to an object. It will also be limited to what it can do, such as destroying high-end magic, unless the owner is very powerful spiritually, has ruhani ilm knowledge, or similar ilmus. In a situation like this, such an owner can be almost as powerful as a person who has a jinn via amal. The stronger the practitioner is, the stronger their jinn is, bound to an object or not. People ask me, is it easier to see a jinn that is attached to an object than one not? My answer is always no. If a person can see jinn in full form, then they can just as easily see jinns attached to an object, but when people who have attached jinns don't sense and or see them or hear them, they automatically assume the jinn is weak and they are perfectly fine, which is false. If they were perfectly fine and spiritually powerful and had their senses open, then they would not need a jinn attached to an object and would be able to conjure their own. Individuals hear about a healer or some powerful magician having an entity in their keep. They hear about the unique and powerful things the jinn can do, such as healing, giving them information on others, the magician healer being able to talk to their jinns, see them, hear them, get advice from them, etc. So then these people search for jinn, attached object thinking. They will experience the exact same, and when they finally get the item, they don't experience those things and throw a fit. I have not had this happen because I'm very careful as to who gets my entities. I'm speaking of emails I receive about such issues. But what they don't realize is the jinn has nothing to do with you being able to see or hear. The keeper of the entity must be at a proper spiritual level to do these things. The jinn has nothing to do with it. This is why I tell people to research about jinns, because many times people hear about jinns doing this or that, and they assume they can do the same thing if they get that special jinn ring. What people need to realize is that a jinn is a tool. A tool only works as well as the person using it. If the person using the tool is not good at it, why should the tool be blamed? A jinn is not going to make you Superman. It is not going to give you the knowledge that one must learn. When a jinn is attached to an object, it is limited to what it can do. Imagine I lock you in a home, you being in that home, how much can you possibly do? No, a jinn will not be limited as us, but it will be when compared to a jinn that is brought forward by your own hard work, not attached to an object. Also, understand a jinn brought forward from my own work came forward and agreed to work with me because I had the proper knowledge to do so. I was at the correct spiritual level. The jinn felt I would not solely depend on it for help, and I will do my part when helping others. This shows the jinn that the person is fairly powerful spiritually and has their senses spiritually aligned, making the jinn stronger. Now, if such a person were to have an attached jinn object, then they can use it far better than someone who is not as spiritually powerful. So as you can see, it really matters on the spirit keeper, not so much the jinn. Yes, the stronger the jinn, the more it can do, but a stronger jinn will not be any easier to see than a weaker jinn. A jinn's power is useful for what it is assigned to do. Its jobs, its power cannot make you sense, see, or hear it. This is based on your spiritual power. Also, realize if one has a jinn and wants to become a healer or use it to deal with black magic, then the jinn on its own can do everything. Even if it can, it won't. We still need to do our part, but people don't understand this. They assume if they get a jinn, they can become a healer or be protected from black magic, but this is so far from the truth. Even when a healer who has a powerful jinn in their keep and uses it to help a victim with black magic, the healer himself must do countless hours of work, the healer does not call the shots, and the jinn does everything. It is a dual effort. This is why I say the jinn is only as powerful as its owner. Now let's say a person who has a jinn from performing an amal is to be compared to someone just as spiritually powerful as them, but has a jinn attached to an object who will be able to do more? The person who has the non-attached jinn, of course. Firstly, one must know that a jinn brought forward from doing Surah Muzamil Amil, for example, is the kind of entity that cannot be attached. The kind of jinns attached to an object are different. Yes, they are brought forward in a similar method, but there are some differences. When a person does an amal to get a jinn, they do the Jamali diet, do it for 41 plus days, do it at the same time every day, and have a teacher guiding them. Now, when a person brings forth a jinn to attach it to an object, they do almost everything the same, but there is no teacher involved, because usually the teacher would do such work. The Quran Surah are still used, but specific things are done to show the entities that they will be attached to an object, causing specific entities to come for that purpose, where if I did a normal amal for having a jinn not attached to an object, a specific kind of entity for that reason would come. The difference between these two entities is mostly their abilities to accomplish tasks. Firstly, the attached entities know they will be going to someone who can't bring forth their own jinns, so the most powerful jinn will not show up. Secondly, a jinn who is patient, willing to deal with mistakes, is easygoing, more peaceful than a jalali, fiery, harsh jinn, is the kind that shows up, making this a jamali, mild-natured, jinn. Jamali does not mean weaker, it describes the jinn's nature. Overall in power, I would say a full power attached jinn would be probably 35–40% weaker than a full power non-attached jinn. But if the spirit keeper who has an attached jinn is spiritually more powerful than someone with a non-attached jinn, then the one with the attached jinn would be just as powerful, maybe even a bit more. So as you can see, the spirit keeper plays a huge role. Spiritually powerful does not necessarily mean spiritually aligned. To be spiritually aligned and have your senses open is what allows one to see, sense, and hear jinns, which also makes it easier for these people to bring them forth. Some people are spiritually very powerful, such as Hafiz, one who has the Quran memorized and a very pious individual, but are not spiritually aligned to sense and see jinn. Yes, they would have a far easier time getting spiritually aligned if they tried than someone not as spiritually powerful. I'm certain we have heard of people who are naturally sensitive. These people are more spiritually aligned than the average person, so they are better at seeing the unseen world, but these people are also usually the ones who fall victim to demonic attacks because they are not spiritually powerful. So, as you can see, spiritually powerful and having your senses spiritually aligned is different. When a person is spiritually aligned, where their senses are open and they are spiritually powerful, pious people are the ones who make powerful healers and can deal with jinns, attached or not, far better than someone either only spiritually aligned or only spiritually powerful. If I had to choose, I would rather be spiritually powerful, because a person who is spiritually powerful is usually closer to God and far more pious. We can learn to do both, be spiritually powerful, and have our senses spiritually aligned. Some people are naturally more sensitive and have a far easier time getting their senses spiritually aligned. This is due to how Allah has created them, but to be spiritually powerful only requires one thing: dedication. I hope this helps people understand the difference between attached and non-attached entities and the importance of the spirit keeper.